This is without a voice. It's fitting because I feel like I'm losing my voice. But it's a really pretty looking visual novel, and they just recently added voice acting to it, and I need that because my voice is dying, like I said. And I needed one of the games that I'm currently playing not to make me come up with a bunch of crazy voices and do them and ruin my voice even more. So yeah, it looks so pretty. I'm very excited. Content warning. Uh-huh. Oh, it's got all that stuff. If you're bad with dealing with that.
When cold, cruel destiny has thee within her grasp.
Wait, is even the narration voiced? Because, boy, I'm just gonna get that thing a backseat here. I was like, I'll do narration at least. Well, wonderful.
Thou may endeavor bravely, dear, to change thy path. But fate cares not which twisted road you choose to take. Your dance atop her palm, with airy choice you make.
Dang. Day one. Oh, okay. It was just a fun, fancy little poem that got voiced. I love that. We love that. This place looks cozy as hell. It was a morning like any other. Tragedy soon to unfold would affect so few people that time would swiftly forget it. For those involved, however, that morning was a maelstrom, drawing them each in, closer and closer still. It all began innocently enough, with a certain exiled princess in a terrible predicament.
Oh dear, run out of firewood. Only I'd noticed yesterday. This has caught me quite unawares.
The ex-princess in question was named Cassidy. She was the eldest child of the kingdom of Varamir. What's this you say? You've never heard of Varamir? One shouldn't be surprised. This all happened long before the universe summoned you into existence.
The next shipment isn't due for a little while yet. But I cannot wait. I won't be able to cook or do laundry without a fire.
So long had the princess had been living in this cottage alone that she'd taken to talking to herself just to feel less lonely. Determined to gather some wood before sundown, Cassidy grabbed a hatchet and some linen and then quitted the place. Oh my god, this is fucking beautiful. Jeez Louise. Once outside, she paused, considering for the umpteenth time whether it would be best for her to lock the door.
No one will come in anyway. My brother's agents never enter. No one else travels this deep into the wood.
Convincing herself so, Cassidy turned away and headed into the forest to begin her mission. Unfortunately, her determination and willpower were short-lived.
As I thought. Firewood isn't just lying on the ground just waiting to be picked up.
Though she'd brought the hatchet, she'd foolishly hoped she wouldn't have to use it. Faced with so many different types of trees, most of them quite large, she was unsure how to proceed. Now that I think about it, how much firewood do I usually use at once? Oh, the more I try to remember, the more addled I get. Perhaps I'll just subsist on fruits and fungus until the next crate arrives. Timely stomach growl quickly put a stop to such plans. Cassidy let out a sigh.
For now, then, I shall return to my favorite place. It always brings me peace. That place holds some magic I've always felt. I'm sure I shall be able to think of something once I'm there.
Her spirit restored, Cassidy hefted her linen satchel a little higher. It was not long until she would be comfortable again, she thought.
Why, you're as radiant as ever.
There were many views to take pleasure in this forest, but this one in particular always brought her delight. Though she had lived here now for some seasons, the tree before her never seemed to change.
I don't know much about wisteria. Are they meant to stay in bloom year-round? Perhaps the winters here are mild. Wisteria shall wither not when flakes of winter fall, yet all must someday perish, while heeding nature's call.
But nature wields not power o'er us all.
A clear wind chime voice caught Cassidy's attention. God damn! Cassidy's heart stuck in her throat as she followed the sound and caught sight of the woman sitting there. She had never before seen a woman so breathtakingly beautiful. No, literally.
My apologies for interrupting your poem, madam.
It was only a couplet. You did not interrupt so much as improve it.
Oh? Then all the better. But it is not safe to be so deep in the wood. Tarry not.
I live here. It is quite safe, I assure you.
I dare say I have lived here much longer than you have.
No harm has ever come to me in these woods. Perhaps our experiences merely differ.
Certainly. I concede your point.
Cassidy paused a long while, unsure of how to carry on the conversation. How strange. I used to make small talk with all the courtiers as if it were nothing. Has time truly affected me so?
You say you live here?
I do.
I have never seen you. I'm quite sure of it. I would remember someone like you. Whereabouts do you live? If you don't mind my asking.
Hardly a stone's throw from where we now stand.
Stone's throw? I mean, I'm not about to be like, you're a fucking liar, but how? I suppose she does not wish to expose where she lives to an utter stranger. It's reasonable. She seems to be quite on her guard.
I envy your view of this lovely place.
Do not envy me.
What the fuck could that mean? How droll.
Oh, where are my manners? My name is Cassidy. I, too, live nearby.
You may call me Elowen.
Elowen.
What a lovely name.
Besides, I was already aware that you live nearby.
What? How?
I have seen you before, albeit from a distance. You come here often.
Oh dear. I must have been making a complete fool of myself. I am sorry that you've had to witness that.
Cassidy thought back to all the complaining she'd done under this tree. All the time she'd sullied herself trying to gather fruit. There were many other truly mortifying memories. She stared at the ground in shame. When she looked up, however, Elowen was smiling. Cassidy felt her tension wane.
So what brings you back to this place?
I wanted to calm myself.
Calm yourself? What for? What could possibly cause you distress?
What a sour tone. Does she think I just daydream and laze about all day?
Many things. I'll have you know that at this very minute, I am on a mission that might mean the difference between life and death.
Oh, and yet you dally here. What could this mission involve, pray tell?
I see my presence is not wanted here. I shall return to my search forthwith.
Just as she was about to turn away and leave Elowen in the wisteria tree behind, Cassidy heard Elowen laugh softly. It was a bewitching sound.
I see I have offended milady. No offense was meant, I can assure.
Really?
Truly, I would never wish to cause you pain. Tell me of your mission.
I have run out of firewood.
Upon hearing this, Elowen stood up and dusted herself off.
Allow me to be of service.
Oh no, I couldn't possibly impose.
Please. This tree suffers so much every time you shed your tears in frustration upon it.
Oh no! Yet, despite her abrasive words, Elowen was tirelessly helpful. It was she who taught Cassidy to gather smaller bits of kindling and to use the hatchet when that proved insufficient.
If you wrap these smaller branches together, they shall burn just fine.
I see. Oh, I am certainly glad not to have to chop down a whole tree. I was worried about that.
Yes. Once felled, a tree can never rise again. Take of them their fruit, their branches, but spare them their roots and lifeblood.
Lifeblood?
Do trees have blood?
This forest is quite old, you know. I wish it would stay forever this way. But man has trouble leaving things be.
The disparity between Elowen's indifferent expression and the biting tone of her voice made Cassidy's heart ache. She must really love trees. I love a game that gives me a himbo option, but you know, we'll be sensible here.
We humans are meddlesome things, aren't we?
Perhaps I'm making too light of her feelings. Thought that was rather an intelligent thing to say.
You truly love this forest.
Yes. In fact, I feel that I am part of it, and it is part of me.
How beautiful. The two continued through the forest, gathering wood and passing the time with easy conversation. As they walked leisurely, the sun began to sink. So too did the satchel of wood over Cassidy's shoulder sag.
It seems that you've gathered plenty of wood now. Surely that will be enough?
You're right!
The time had quite gotten away from the exiled princess. Now that their afternoon together was coming to an end, Cassidy was afraid. Afraid and hopeful, which was perhaps more dangerous still.
Then...
Excuse me, Miss Elowen?
Yes?
Might I... That is, might we meet again? You've no idea how happy I am to meet another person living in this wood. And a woman at that.
Yet the expression on Elowen's face showed that she had, in fact, some idea.
I was about to suggest the same. You might find me in this area most afternoons.
I see! Then, until tomorrow.
Would that we meet so soon, my lady.
With that, Elowen bowed and left. Her steps made almost no sound. What a graceful woman. Not just beautiful, but elegant and smart. As she walked back to her cottage, so filled with thoughts of Elowen was her head, that Cassidy forgot all about her fatigue and the weight of her burden. She certainly is opinionated, but she must have so much more experience living independently than I.
I hope I am not a bother to her.
And with that, the once princess returned home, blissfully unaware of the roots that were this moment grabbing hold of her heels and pulling her beneath.
It is said a fool repeats his days, changing not but expecting change. I posit these men are by routine hogtied. They expect not, and are by naught satisfied.
Take two. The front of this house is fucking gorgeous. There's a sort of melancholy one feels when closing a book for the final time, feeling its last words wash over you as you leave its world and return to your own life. It was an ennui that Cassidy had grown used to. In her former life, she had received the best education that money and bribery could buy. Now that bright mind was left to languish, fed by nothing more than a single new book each fortnight. But now Cassidy was in the habit of reading very slowly indeed. She shut her latest tome and placed it upon the table next to her half-written letter to her brother.
I never sound quite myself in these letters. How do you write from a distance to one whom you once saw daily? And how do you write anything at all when your life has grown so dull?
That's too real. She decided to pen a few more sentences on how moved she felt after reading the book and how profoundly distressed she was by the ending of it. Family is important, but so too is recognizing the value of what you have before it's too late. If only the king had realized what a wonderful daughter he had. And I hope that you realize how much you're loved by me, your one and only sister. She paused, overcome by sheer feeling, and decided to keep that final bit to herself. It was too desperate for comfort, and princesses did not whinge so.
No, that won't do at all. How unbecoming.
With a sigh, Cassidy stared at the crackling fire. She had more than enough firewood now to last until her next shipment of it. The sight reminded her of Elowen.
I wonder what Elowen is doing at this very moment.
She could not fathom. The day-to-day life of such a mysterious personage was utterly beyond her imagination. Her curiosity so engaged, it was now impossible to ignore. So the fair Cassidy resolved to herself to take a walk and casually seek the other woman out.
Perhaps I'll even stumble across where she lives today. Wouldn't it be exciting to surprise her at her home?
Thinking nothing at all of how inconvenient, how overly forward and impertinent it might be, she departed immediately. Once outside, Cassidy took in a deep lungful of crisp forest air.
How lovely it is today. Hardly a cloud in the sky.
She took measured steps into the forest, constantly scanning the area around her, on the lookout for this elusive domicile. Might Elowen live in a cottage like mine? She's so elegant, I can't imagine her doing housework. Then again, I could hardly imagine myself doing housework not so long ago. How times change a person. Cassidy reached her beloved wisteria tree before long and eagerly drank in the sight of it. She ran up to the tree and encircled it with her arms as if meaning to embrace it.
Hello, dear tree. You are looking as lovely as ever today. Though a certain someone sits not beneath your boughs this afternoon.
She leaned to one side and then another, looking around the tree and into the forest to see if she might spy a window or the billowing of chimney smoke. Sadly, she could make out only more trees.
I can't suppose that Elowen lives in a tree house, does she?
Certainly not.
Wow. Girlie just fucking shot up out of the ground. Startled, Cassidy jumped, her foot catching unhappily on one of the tree's roots, sending her flailing forward.
Careful.
Elowen's arm shot out at once, her vice-like grip snaring the once princess just in time. Elowen's touch was so cold, yet her movements decisive. Cassidy's heart raced. Was she truly worried for me? Took Cassidy several moments to regain her composure. Elowen too looked a bit shaken.
Thank goodness you arrived when you did. Though, truth be told, if you hadn't startled me so, I would not have fallen.
Is that so? I shall endeavor to be less frightening in the future then.
Oh dear, she may have mistaken my meaning. I was only trying to cover up my embarrassment. Perhaps she was joking. On second thought, maybe that was a joke?
You look much better with a smile.
Oh my god.
As do you. Still, how curious it is for us to be meeting here again.
You come here often? I live nearby. What is curious about it?
I'm merely saying that it is serendipitous. It must be fate.
Fate has nothing to do with it, I assure you.
Is she here to fucking murder Girly? Hello? What is going on?
But it's so much more romantic to think of it as fate.
I can think of nothing less romantic than fate.
Oh shit.
Hmm?
Perhaps this is something not yet possible for you to understand.
Don't speak as though you're much older and wiser than me.
Elowen laughed a little.
How old are you, anyway?
How old do you think?
Cassidy stared at Elowen, gazing deeply into her eyes as if she might find the other woman's secrets there.
Older than I first thought, perhaps.
This face is so cute.
A wise answer.
Elowen tipped her head slightly, the motion seeming to indicate a desire to walk on. Cassidy was only too happy to comply. Together, the two women strolled. Their time together was marked by companionable silence. Cassidy, never before a quiet girl, was desperate to fill it, but what conversation might pique Elowen's interest was unclear. She peered shyly at Elowen's face and profile, so striking and noble did it seem. She has the air of an aristocrat. What could someone like she be doing living in the forest? Then again, am I not in the same position? Perhaps it's something she finds difficult to speak of. An icy gust of wind whistled through the clearing, causing Cassidy to shiver and rub her bare arms.
The sun will be setting soon and it will grow colder. Perhaps you should.
It was then that the question Cassidy had been ruminating on all afternoon burst forth.
Would you like to come to my cottage?
Jesus. Elowen appeared quite overcome.
Is that wise?
Whatever do you mean?
How can you extend such an invitation to one such as me, whom you hardly know? You are entirely too trusting.
I'm surprised at you. Two solitary women ought to stick together out in these wilds. Besides, who else have I to invite? That is, I sometimes feel quite lonely out here. Don't you?
Elowen turned her head slightly and gazed into the forest behind them, as if peering at something only she could see.
Loneliness, then. I see. Very well. I will take you up on your offer.
Though puzzled by Elowen's hesitation, Cassidy was overjoyed that her invitation had been accepted. There was a spring in her step as she led the other woman to her home. It was only in front of the cottage that Cassidy suddenly understood what an impetuous thing it was that she was doing. Is the house clean enough? She could not seem to recall when she had last swept or aired out her bedding.
Is this where you live?
Yes.
It's charming.
Oh, thank you. I wish I could take more credit for that. The house was here long before I arrived. Even the furniture is not truly my own.
Still, it suits you.
Thank you.
Bolstered by Elowen's reaction, Cassidy finally gained the courage to follow through. She opened the door wide, gesturing for the other woman to enter. As Elowen did so, with her usual slow, measured steps, Cassidy couldn't help but notice the other woman's feet, clearly visible in the slippers she wore. Her toes are curled. How odd. They stayed that way even as Elowen entered the house. Perhaps her manner of walking is not purely for the sake of elegance, but also necessity? Had Elowen some sort of pain in her feet? Cassidy pondered on this and resolved to ask about it when the opportunity arose.
It is quite spacious. You live here, alone?
That's right.
It's
not so bad. I don't have anyone to tell me what to do or where to go. I have a freedom now that I'd never known before.
Perhaps. But sometimes I believe that being tied down to something is easier. If you don't realize you're being strangled, it's just a pleasant, lightheaded feeling.
Hmm? I don't really understand.
Jesus.
It's alright if you don't.
Elwyn walked slowly from. I'm still reeling from that. Holy. Elwyn walked slowly from one part of the room to the next, her fingertips coasting over every surface. She looked to be seeking the essence of each object, taking in every minute flaw and deciphering its true nature. Cassidy wondered what Elwyn might discover about her if only she allowed it, if only she dared. It was unbearably quiet. Just then, Elwyn came across the book Cassidy had finished reading.
Oh, that's a book my brother sent to me. I get so frightfully bored here that these books have become my sanctuary. I'm expecting a new shipment soon.
Your brother?
Elwyn was silent for a time, digesting that new information. And then her eyes fell on the half-finished letter haphazardly placed next to the book. Cassidy followed her gaze. Eyes wide, she leapt forward to snatch the letter away. How much had the other woman seen? Probably all of it. She colored in mortification.
Your brother is far away from here.
Yes,
Is it beautiful? The place where you once both lived?
I have not once seen its equal.
More beautiful than this cottage prison of yours?
Cassidy could not hide her surprise at Elwyn's poisonous choice of words, nor could she hide her sudden tears. Huh?
I do not appreciate your tone.
I notice you do not disagree with me, however.
I most decidedly do. You don't understand how much my brother cares for me.
You are correct in at least one thing there.
Cassidy angrily dried her tears. Elwyn looked at the window.
It has gotten dark.
Oh my. How rude of me. I have not offered you tea or any refreshment.
Do not trouble yourself on my account. I must away. I did not mean to impose for so long.
Oh, you are hardly an imposition.
You are kind. And good.
Cassidy's face lit up.
Kind and good things do not survive long in a world such as ours.
And just as quickly as it had come, the sudden rush of delight left her. Bowing her head, the other woman was out the door and gone, leaving hurt and confusion in her wake. I have to believe that Alexander loves me. If not, what will become of me? When she looked out the window to glimpse the same view that Elwyn had just beheld, what Cassidy saw before her was but a bleak uncertainty.